Hello, good day everyone. Our topic for today is about gender studies presented to you by the group 12. Before we're going to start and further discuss our topic, let me introduce first my group mates. We have Quizon Jennifer, yours truly, Caroline Apple. Next we have here Casinio Chris Peel. To formally start, I want to ask you a question. What comes into your mind when you hear the word gender studies? What is gender studies? So, gender studies is a field of study that investigates the social and cultural construction of gender roles, sexuality, and power dynamics in literature and culture. When we say sexuality, it involves the sexual orientation, desire, and the societal norms governing the sexual behavior. So, when we say power, it focuses on the dynamics between different genders and the implication of the power structures. Now let us proceed. The primary concern of gender studies is the manner in which gender and sexuality are discussed and represented in literature and culture. Critics working in this field seek to counter patriarchy by thinking about text in radically new ways rather than simply focusing on new texts or traditional feminist themes. One of the key features of gender studies is to break down the binary opposition, such as male and female or masculine or feminine. Next, letter B, critics working in gender studies might even be uncomfortable with the binary established by many feminist scholars between masculine and feminine. They argue that these distinctions are constantly changing and that the biology of male and female is increasingly complex and murky. Instead, they focus on the fluidity of cultural definition of sexuality and gender. In summary, gender studies discuss gender and sexuality by challenging traditional binaries, examining representation of gender roles in literature and culture. We have here the critics examining a series of binary position, active, passive, sun, moon, father, mother, logos, and pathos. When you say binary opposition, it is a pair of concepts that are seen as fundamentally different or opposite to each other, where the first term is associated with masculinity and the second term is associated with the femininity. We view the first binary position, which is active and passive. The active principle is associated with masculinity, symbolizing agency, engagement, and control. This suggests that men are expected to take charge or make decisions. On the other hand, the passive principle is associated with femininity, symbolizing submission, acceptance, and subordination. This implies that women are expected to be receptive, follow the lead of others, and accept their circumstances. Now let us proceed to the second binary opposition. We have the sun and moon. Sun is associated with the masculine principle, symbolizing light, warmth, and power. This suggests that men are seen as strong, radiant, and powerful, providing warmth and guidance to others. The moon is associated with the feminine principle, symbolizing darkness, mystery, and nurturing. This implies that women are seen as mysterious, intuitive, or nurturing, providing comfort and support to others. And now let us proceed to the third binary opposition, in which it is a mother and father. So the father is associated with the masculine principle, symbolizing authority, reason, and protection. This suggests that fathers are expected to be providers, decision makers, and protectors, while on the other hand, the mother, associated with the feminine principle, of course, symbolizes emotion, care, and nurturing. This implies that mothers are expected to be caregivers, empathetic, and supportive. Now, we're going to discuss the fourth binary opposition, which is the logos and pathos. So when we say logos, it is associated with the masculine principle, symbolizing logic, reasons, and objectivity. This suggests that men are expected to be logical, analytical, and objective in their thinking. While on the other hand, we have here pathos. It is associated with the feminine principle, symbolizing emotion, subjectivity, and empathy. This implies that women are expected to be emotional, intuitive, and empathetic in their thinking. It is important to note that these associations are cultural constructs and do not reflect inherent qualities of the concept or gender themselves. Critics challenge these hierarchies and the gender stereotypes they perpetuate, and arguing that such binaries limit our understanding of the complex and the nature of human experiences and relationships. By deconstructing this binary opposition, we can work towards a more inclusive and equitable understanding of gender roles and expectation. Now let us proceed to the next topic to be discussed by Jennifer Quizon.
Now let's proceed to in between. Imagine you have two boxes, one labeled male and the other labeled female. These boxes represent how society often thinks about gender, as if everyone neatly fits into these two categories. But in reality, people are more complex than that. Some might feel that they are a mix of both, or they might not feel that they fit into either category perfectly. That space between the two boxes where things aren't so clear cut is what we call in between. So the binary oppositions are pairs of concepts that are considered mutually exclusive, such as good versus evil, male versus female, or nature versus culture. However, modern theories challenge these simplistic views, especially regarding gender and sexuality. Now, gender and queer theories push back against the old idea that people can only be either male or female. Instead, they highlight that gender and sexuality are complex and can be seen as a spectrum. This means that people's identities and the way they express themselves can fall anywhere between what society traditionally thinks of as male and female. According to Jacques Derrida, was a French philosopher who came up with the idea of deconstruction. He believed that meanings are not fixed and stable, but rather fluid and changing. This means that the meaning of words and concepts and even identities can shift depending on context. Let's say, for example, think about the word hero. In one story, a hero might be someone who fights monsters, while in another, a hero might be someone who helps others in everyday life. The meaning changes based on the story and the perspective. Now let's put it in literature. Deconstruction encourages readers to look closely at the text to find gaps, contradictions, and ambiguities. This includes looking at how gender and identity are portrayed and questioning the clear-cut boundaries we often assumed exist. Let's say, for example, in a novel, a character might act very brave in one scene and very scared in another. Instead of seeing this as a mistake, deconstruction would see it as a way to show the complexity of human nature. As we learn more about genetics, it becomes clear that the biology of being male or female isn't as straightforward as we once thought. There are many factors, including hormones and chromosomes, that influence gender, making it a much more complex issue than just male or female. Some people are born with a mix of male and female biological traits, such as intersex individuals. This shows that nature itself doesn't always fit into the simple categories of male and female. Literature not only mirrors how society thinks about gender and sexuality, but also influences those attitudes. By exploring characters and stories that exist in the in-betweens of traditional gender roles, literature helps us understand identity, representation, and power dynamics more deeply. A book featuring a transgender character can help readers see and understand the experience of transgender people, which can change how they think about gender. Now let's go to the gender criticism question. First question is gender different from sex? Yes, gender is different from sex. Sex refers to the biological differences between male and female bodies, like chromosomes and reproductive organs. Gender, on the other hand, is about the roles, behaviors, and identities that society considers appropriate for men and women. Gender is more about how we feel and how we express ourselves, while sex is about physical characteristics. Let's say, for example, a person may be born with female anatomy, which is the sex, but feel and identify as a male gender. Second question, what are the roles of male and female? Traditional roles of males and females are based on societal expectations. For example, men are often expected to be strong, assertive, and providers, while women are often expected to be nurturing, gentle, and caregivers. However, these roles are changing as society recognizes that people can and should be able to express themselves in ways that feel right to them, regardless of their gender. Example, in many cultures, men taking on roles as stay-at-home dads and women working as leaders in business show how these traditional roles are becoming more flexible. Now, and gender criticism encourages us to move beyond binary thinking and embrace the complexity of gender and sexuality. By understanding these concepts, we can appreciate the richness of identity and challenge traditional norms. Literature plays a crucial role in this process, offering a platform to explore and reflect on these ideas. Next.
So now let's proceed to typical questions. So the first question we have here is what elements of the text can be perceived as being masculine, active, or powerful, and the feminine passive marginalized? And how do the character supports these traditional roles? So the answer of this question is, in this text, elements perceived as masculine include active roles, power, and aggression. So while feminine elements include passivity, emotional sensitivity, and caregiving. So the characters support these roles to action like leadership and physical strength for masculinity, and nurturing and emotional support for femininity. So the second question we have here is, what sort of support, if any, is given to the elements or characters who question the masculine or the feminine binary? So what happened to the elements or the characters? So the answer of this question is, the characters or elements that challenge the masculine or the feminine binary may receive support through narrative arcs. So the arc here stands for attention, relevance, confidence, and satisfaction. So that's explore the gender diversity and fluidity. They may also experience the acceptance, empowerment, and the opportunity to redefine traditional gender. So, traditional gender rules within this story, leading to the greater representation and inclusivity. So the third question we have here is, what elements in the text exist in the middle or the between that perceived masculine or the feminine binary? So the answer of this question is, in a text, elements that exist in the middle or the between the perceived masculine or the feminine binary may include the characters of traits and exhibit a blend of traditionally masculine and feminine qualities. So these elements can challenge gender stereotypes and offer a more nuanced portrayal of gender identity. So the characters in this middle ground may display a balance of assertiveness and empathy, strength and vulnerability, or the leadership and collaboration, showcasing the complexity and diversity of human experience behind the rigid gender categories. So the last question we have here, which is the question number 4, we have here, in what manner does the author presents the text? Is it a traditional narrative? Is it secure and forceful? Or is it more hesitant or even collaboration? So the answer of this question is, the author presents the text in the collaborative announced manner, moving away from traditional binary representation of gender. So the narrative is characterized by the blend of assertiveness and empathy, strength and vulnerability. So this challenge also the rigid norms. So the author's approach is inclusive, embracing the complexity and diversity of human experiences behind traditional masculine and feminine roles. So that's all for our topic. Thank you for listening. God bless everyone.